If you're in the leadership game, now is an opportunity to prove you deserve to be there. All eyes are on the political stewardship at City Hall, the state capitol, and Washington, D.C. Mike Murphy has worked for presidential candidates John McCain and Mitt Romney, Bob Shrum for Al Gore and John Kerry, among others. Both are with the Center for the Political Future at USC. So, Bob, we'll start with you. How has Mayor Eric Garcetti and Governor Gavin Newsom performed as far as you're concerned?
I think they get A-pluses. Gavin is interesting. I think he's dyslexic. He does this every night without notes. He seems to have complete command of the facts. He's reassuring. And it's not just how they communicate. It's not just Garcetti getting up there and I think being very matter of fact, talking to people very directly. It's they made substantive decisions that mattered and that saved lives.
I'll tell you, on substance, I give Gavin an A, and I'm not a big fan. I think he actually surprised a lot of people in the California echo chamber of politics that he maybe isn't quite the lightweight that people assumed him to be, because he moved early and decisively and did the best of any large state governor in getting in front of this thing, and the numbers prove it. On communication, I think my friend Bob's a little bit more the East German judge here on the Democrats. I think Gavin was a little slow to have the messaging and the ability to punch through, catch up of what he was doing. Garcetti, I think, has done a good job in following the governor. I don't find his briefings as compelling, and I don't think he's really had any independent action, but I can't criticize it, really. I think it's been totally adequate. But I think the star in this, though, has been Gavin in what he's done, and now he's up to speed on communication. And I think you're going to start hearing political talk, because it's never too early in our racket, looking at Gavin Newsom down the road as a potential presidential candidate in the Democratic side.
I think the biggest problem he's had is that the media is so New York-centric that all the attention is on Cuomo, and it's hard for him from Sacramento to break through, although he is breaking through some now.
You know, the irony is he's done a much better job than Cuomo. Cuomo's been a great communicator, and he's been cool under fire, and he's done a good job communicating during the crisis. But on an action thing, he was late. He had a bigger problem. He was late. He has a dense city in New York, obviously, of New York City. Well, I think Gavin gets credit for being fast and early. Now, I will say about Garcetti, it was funny. My liberal wife, a loyal liberal Democrat, we cancel each other's vote out a lot, was like yelling at the TV. This is a sample of one during Garcetti's interview, which is quit talking like a yoga instructor, take charge. So, you know, Garcetti also has this kind of new agey passive thing, but I just think Gavin's a lot better at it. I think he's a better natural communicator.
Yeah, we ought to give Garcetti credit, I think, for the fact that he actually closed the city before Gavin closed the state. It was just a matter of hours. But Landon Breed did it first in San Francisco. Garcetti did it, and then the whole state was closed.
Bob, your assessment of the response from the White House?
I think the daily briefings have hurt Trump. He got a bubble of hope at the beginning. I think people want their president in a time like this to be good. He went up a little. That's dissipated. You look at a poll in Arizona yesterday where he's behind Biden by 9 points. That tells you, I think, how people are taking his measure. Right now, I suspect that people still have some hope that maybe he'll do this right, maybe he'll do something right, but they're tired of it, and they're tired of the briefings, and they're tired of all the craziness and going through this day after day after day.
I would say that in a moment of crisis, people are rooting for the president to succeed, and they want sober, calm, thoughtful leadership. And with the Donald Trump reality show, you don't get this. So what's happening now is they're rooting for Dr. Fauci, who's, you know, skyrocketed in the polls because he's providing the kind of leadership, expertise, and calm demeanor that you need in a crisis. I think most of the country is kind of hoping that Dr. Fauci will slip a couple of sleeping pills into Trump's martini, not to hurt him, but just to slow him down and get him away from the podium so the professionals can do this. I think Trump's hurting himself with the show. You know, when the stakes are low in politics, Trump's good at Washington food fight name calling. But when the stakes are high and your life savings is at risk and you don't know if you're coming back to the job and your brother's restaurant may not open, you don't have time for name-calling reality show antics. So I think it's really hurt the president, and it has opened up a vacuum for effective, not shy governors like Cuomo, like Newsom, to fill the void, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. The president's role in this by Trump's antics has been pretty much diminished.
Think about 9/11. I mean, Democrats rallied to George Bush right after 9/11. I mean, I was on a television show and somebody asked me about it. I said, look, he's my president now. I may have run a campaign against him, but he's my president. We have to stand with him. That's what we don't have now. And the opportunity that Trump missed was to come out to say this is a crisis that affects all Americans, doesn't discriminate between Republicans and Democrats. I'm not going to hold any more campaign rallies right now. I'm going to focus on this and nothing else in the Oval Office. And Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx will brief you every day. I will come out occasionally. It would have changed the whole way people think about him. But he's incapable of doing that.
You could argue, though, that that's the easy part. The most perilous period is just down the road.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The second wave of this, the economic pain, is going to be politically harder than the take 3 weeks off pain, because the different regions of California are going to want different things because, frankly, they got different numbers. And you make the argument from biology, well, it's coming to you eventually. But, a less populated rural county, if we get more testing, might be able to manage it in a different way. And that headache and that economic pain is going to be a big political problem.
In fact, right now, the economy is on a steeper downward slope than it was in 1929. And there could be enormous economic pain. And we're dealing with this in the context of enormous polarization.
I will be, and I may be wrong, but I'll be the optimist here. It's not quite like 1929 when the coal mine, the car plant, and the farm field closed. It was all gone. So we're in a more resilient, more distributed economy now. So while I think there will definitely be pain, and it will have a huge impact on the next generation going through this, I am less of a pessimist that it'll be completely catastrophic. We will see. I think we will recover.
Mike Murphy and Bob Shrum of the Center for the Political Future at the University of Southern California, thank you very much for taking the time.
You too. Take care.
You.
Up next, a Caltech neuroscientist talks about whether or not our brains are hardwired for this intersection of a pandemic and the communications age. When we return.